call this meeting, the River Edge Municipal Land Use to order. And we'll salute the flag. Chris, you want to take the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Borough Hall, by email to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of the schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. I'd like to remind all the meeting members of the public that we have 3 fire exits, one in the back, one behind me here, and one on the side here. And for purposes of creating a record of this meeting, we are videotaping. If you wish to be heard or seen on the videotape, all you need to do is come to the front table here and you will be recorded. Roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Monroe? Here. Mr. Grasso? Here. Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Ms. Boland?
Here.
Mr. Craig?
Here.
Mr. Caslin? Here. Mr. Merriman?
Here.
And we have Mr. Gewertz absent.
That's correct.
Is there anyone else absent, or is that it?
Mayor Mignon and Councilman Equafito are both excused.
Right.
Because this is their variance, they cannot hear.
Correct.
And I believe that's it. Okay. We have approval of the minutes, but we don't have the minutes with us. You do have them. Carol is going to pass them out in a second.
I have enough.
Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to suspend approving the minutes for now. We'll move on to that in a second. And let's go to the application for completeness. This is MGC Realty application 2017-05, 620 Kindercramack Road. And I'd like to hear from our professionals. Mr. Costa?
Mr. Chair?
By the way, does anybody not have reports from the professionals with them?
I don't.
I brought some, okay. All right, we'll have to share that, because I have one set of that, but I do have a few share of Costas. Yeah, I do. Only by accident. My printer just kept spitting them out.
Do you have a cost? Okay. Yeah, we're good down here.
Pass that down to Irene, please. Anybody else need a copy of Mr. Costas? I have. Okay. Steve, how are you?
I do.
You got them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Robert?
The board should have received a copy of the report. The board also should have received copies of the previous applications on this side of the resolution. There would be 4 in total. I'm not sure if I received them or not.
Came through late on the email yesterday. I did read over them. I saw what you had there.
That was just to give you basically an overview of how the site transformed. Obviously today, and I'm sure you'll hear from the applicant, we have a pizzeria, a restaurant, and the auto parts store, the daycare, and I believe that's it. I believe the insurance business actually moved out, which was in the back of the restaurant, is my recollection. The proposal in front of you is to do a 2-story addition on the side of the pizzeria, and then a 1-story addition on top of the actual restaurant itself. And I guess the heights work out, and probably Mr. Lurie can discuss how that works. And basically build residential apartments on top of that. We reviewed it. There's certainly enough information between the architectural and the site plans, and I think it just comes down to, obviously they would have to prove their case, but if it is approved, the drainage isn't really going to change. It really comes down to the sewer, make sure that's all right. There's some broken curb, some other improvements that need to be done out there, and obviously the biggest question is the park. That's where
but you're recommending the application be deemed complete for hearing. Mr. Behrens?
I guess I just have a few questions for the applicant, in terms of, I guess from a planning perspective. The board wants to contemplate certain information. The one issue, is obviously the parking, and I think the applicant should, talk about the situation that's going on there, and in terms of ownership and whatever agreements there might be on the property. One of the bigger planning issues is the height variance being requested, and so to understand what the extent of that variance is, I think is important. And the other thing is to understand whether or not the applicant is going to have some sort of traffic analysis, or parking analysis rather, for the application, whether in the form of a report or testimony. There was a 2010 parking assessment submitted, but that was for another site under different circumstances, so I'm not sure how relevant it is for this case.
You feel this application is enough to be complete?
I think we should have the applicant maybe address some of those issues that I just mentioned and see what sort of information they have with in order to make that determination.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question for both of the professionals. Have either one of you reviewed a height calculation for the proposed?
Well,
Mr. Costa, let's start with you.
Reviewed? No, I did not.
You did not. So, do you know if the height conforms to what he's proposing?
I do not.
well, there's some bit of confusion on the plans. In one sense, in the zoning table, it says that it does conform, but if you look at the elevations and the dimensions, there is a discrepancy. So that's sort of unclear. But the other issue is to the extent that the height was calculated regarding the grade of the property,
Okay.
whether or not
But-
that may impact whatever relief is being sought.
Neither one of you have received nor reviewed a height calculation for this application.
Well, they're saying, their experts are telling us that they don't need a height variance
Okay, go ahead.
for the actual height. They need a variance for the amount of stories.
And you're taking them at their word.
No, so we have to listen to the testimony of how they actually
Wait,
did that.
right now, we're not there. We're deeming this acceptable or not. And I'm asking you, is it acceptable? Have you received a height
What you're
calculation?
doing is, you're deeming it complete to listen to the testimony. You're not voting on the application.
I recognize that.
That's what you're doing. So then, once they get up, you would question
Okay,
them, how did you do
so is it your opinion that you don't need a height calculation to deem it necessary? To go ahead?
I'm saying they can go forward and they can discuss it and we can question them, and then from there, we can make a determination whether or not they have to get additional information, whether they have to take shots, whether they have to average it. I don't believe the roof line is going any higher than the existing building. So, I'm not sure if they would actually need a height variance for that. Again, in the front, I guess it would be considered 3 stories, and not 2.5 that's allowed in the zone. And again, the property falls off dramatically in the back,
That's right.
but I don't think it's going any higher than the roof
Okay.
line in the back. So, quite frankly, it's probably, is it an extension of a non-conformity?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I would wait for the testimony to question it.
I mean, I might suggest that, for now, let's move past it, and we can bring that up during the testimony, and if they don't have the answer, then we might have to postpone to the next meeting.
Okay.
All right? Is there anything else from members of the board? Do I have a motion to deem this application complete?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Boland, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Casper? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Monroe, on completeness.
Yay.
Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Ms. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin. Yes. Mr. Manning.
No.
Deemed complete by vote of 6-1.
All right. So, Now, according to this, the regular meeting doesn't start until, I guess we can move right past here, but I'd like to,
Let me see.
you know, 7:30. Oh, I guess
7:30. Yeah, yeah, there's no special, there's not a
Right, all right.
second time.
Okay. So I'd like a motion to adjourn the work session?
Do you want to do minutes?
Oh, that's right, yep.
Good,
Good. We didn't get a copy yet. Did everybody get a copy of the minutes?
No.
You do have them. They were passed over.
Did I, oh, I have
Here we
them.
go.
No, I don't have them.
Here we go.
I have one set. I need one more set.
No, it's just, you want what's that? You have many?
Yeah, they have.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Any corrections, anybody see anything there? Take a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make it.
Mr. Merman?
Merman,
Second.
A second?
Ms. Bowen? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Passed.
Same. I wasn't here for the meeting.
And I do as well.
That's Mr. Cashland and Mr. Monroe. Now,
No,
Mr.
Craig. Craig.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Craig.
We sounded exactly alike.
You look exactly alike. Motion to adjourn the work session?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Work session's closed. I'd like 5 minutes with our attorney before we get started. Can I have Mr. Costa and Tom with me? Thank you. It's a regular meeting of the River Edge Land Use Board. And welcome Dr. Carrots, and we'll have a roll call, please.
Yes, for the regular meeting, Mr. Monroe.
Here.
Mr. Grasso.
Here.
Mr. Arakelian.
Here?
Ms. Boland.
Here.
Mr. Cray.
Here.
Mr. Cashland.
Here.
Mr. Merman.
Here.
Mr. Wertz.
Here.
All present.
Carol, could you maybe turn the air conditioning down just a little bit for us in here? No?
Down? Oh, make it cool.
Yeah, make it cooler. Yeah, that would be great. Get the engineer to do it.
Can you borrow engineer, turn the air conditioning
Otherwise, we'll all be sleeping by 8 o'clock. This is an application MCG Realty, application 2017-05, 620 Kinnicamack Road. And the application was deemed completed at our work session. And I'll go to our attorney to pull up the applicants.
Okay. So appearing for the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, Kelly, good evening, members of the board. I'm Christopher Martin from Morrison Mahoney on behalf of MCG Realty as the applicant. If I was told 34 years ago when I graduated Riverdale that I would lead one land use board meeting as a 12-year land use board attorney, come to another meeting as a land use applicant's attorney, I would be surprised. But here we are. In terms of this application,
Well, before you start talking about the substance, Mr. Martin, just let me indicate for the record that you did provide proof of service on the 200-foot owners. We checked that. That's in order. You did advertise the meeting for tonight in the record, and the notice meets the provisions of the municipal land use law, and therefore the board does have jurisdiction to hear the case.
Mr. Mostak, I appreciate that. When the board was Board of Adjustment, we had noticed, and then the board transferred over, and in the process, we got lost in the sauce essentially, and we had to renotice. So thank you for...
And you've testified before this board before?
Well, he's an
I
attorney.
have not had the pleasure of presenting as an attorney.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Does he get sworn in, or?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Just as a brief overview, the existing site is a restaurant with a side pizzeria. There is a preschool at the rear of the facility, and in the middle there is a wholesale parts store. Even though it's a retail designated store, the actual use of it is 90% delivery of parts to gas stations. So you're not getting a lot of walking traffic. You have the preschool, and the preschool is Monday through Friday, closing at 6 o'clock. You don't have the preschoolers driving, you have employees that come to the facility to be there for the daycare and teaching. However, they're gone by 6 o'clock in the evening, and they're not up there on the weekends. What the applicant proposes is simply 3 apartment units to level out the existing school facility that comes to the, I guess, towards Kinnick Road and then drops off over the restaurant. These apartments would be over the restaurant. It would be 3 rental units, and the additional parking would be 6 spots. Now, it's a C1 zone, it's commercial. If you have 8 to 6, 9 to 5, all commercial use at the property, it's the applicant's position, and you'll hear from our witnesses, that it would be more of a parking intensity and intensify the use than what was proposed. Also, if all the businesses overlap in terms of the type of businesses, the hours of business, and the use of the business, there would also be more of a concern as to circulation and parking. Here, the type of residents, it would be mostly probably the professionals, young professionals, or empty nesters, and would be the surcharge for allowing kids into the school system and increase that. It's also people who are not going to be there until back in the evening. So those parking spots that are left free by the individual employees of the school will be open for this use. And with that, we have architect Scott Laurie, who will be our first witness. Gary Gorski, the property owner, is here. He'll be my second witness. And then Mia Petro, our planner, will be my cleanup hitter at third, will be my third. So with that, Mr. Laurie.
Mr. Laurie? Yes. You want to raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, just state your name again so I have it.
It's Scott Laurie, architect, 645 Lotus Avenue, Newark.
Okay. And what's your certification number?
Certification number?
Well,
6924. I know that's my zip code. I have 39 licenses. I don't. No, it's right. It's AIO 6924.
okay.
Sir, would you mind pushing that back just a little bit so the people in the audience can see as well? That's a good spot right there.
Spot right there?
Mhm. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have board the other witness.
Please.
Thank you. Mr. Laurie, where did you receive your bachelor's?
Private Institute,
And what was the bachelor's in?
construction management.
And then did you go on to graduate school?
No, I did not.
At some point, did you study for the architectural licensure?
Yes, I did.
And are you licensed in New Jersey?
I am licensed in New Jersey and most other states, yes.
And for how many years have you been licensed?
1976.
Do you have any professional designations? AIA?
Yeah, AIA, yes.
And your license has been in continuous effect since 1976?
That is correct.
Have you testified as a professional architect before zoning boards, planning boards, boards of adjustment, land use boards throughout New Jersey?
Throughout New Jersey.
Okay. And you've been qualified as such as an expert?
Yes, I have.
And you also have licenses in different states, I'm aware of that.
That is correct.
Just briefly, some of the neighboring states, or...
Well, total 39 states, but all the neighboring states, most of the East Coast.
And your licenses are in good standing.
All in good standing.
Mr. Chair, I offer the witness as a professional architect.
Any
I-
questions? Like, he's good.
Thank you.
Has he ever reported this before?
Many years ago.
I think I remember. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Loria, you have done a analysis of the building owned by MCG Realty in River,
Yes, I
New
have.
Jersey?
Yep, yes, I have.
And you were contacted by the principal to address potential addition to the property,
That
correct?
is correct.
Will that addition change the footprint in any way?
No.
Could you explain to the board what you did in terms of the desire of the applicant?
Is that going to be too far away from you guys?
No.
Well, that, Mr. Laurie, that's the same document that's covered, that
Yes,
the
sir.
board has already been furnished with in your plans, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we don't have to mark that separately, those
Does
are...
everybody on the board have a copy, or share a copy?
Well, I'm going to skip from the site plan. You are going about PA2, which is better description of what we do. And we have essentially, we're going over.
If I can just present the other side.
Oh, sure. So, the apartments go across the lower section of the front of the building, which would be over the restaurant and pizza store. So one story added on the first two units and 2 stories added on the last unit. So, 1 bedroom units and 1 2-bedroom unit is the larger one.
Just for the record, that was sheet 2-year plan?
That's PA2, yes, sir. And then, side, we're looking at the finishings that are on the front of the building now. Stuff I finished for a variegated hand color on St. Luke's. So we're gonna mimic that. We have similar detailing going on the front. As you can see, this it's a one-story added across the base with a small 2-story addition. The southern end of the building.
In terms of the type of property that the site sits on, could you describe if there's any grade changes?
Yeah, the grade severely slopes to the rear. It's a regular shape properties. Let's go through. So we're 31,000 square foot in total. It's a regular shape. And it probably drops. It's a 10-foot drop approximately in front of that.
The property or
The property.
structure, okay, so, from the property line to property.
No, from at the structure line. So from the front of the structure, I'm going out the front right corner of the building, to the rear right corner, it's approximately 10 feet.
Okay, do you know what it is for the whole property?
That's around the
Mr. Laurie, as the building currently exists, is there a height difference from the back of the building to the restaurant area in the front of the building?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe that to the board?
Oh. You're talking about this building?
Yes.
Not the rear. So the back of the building, the back portion of the building. It's about 24 feet high. So I'm going from Kinnickinnick side. It's about 24 feet high. St. Ducci's is about 14 feet high, 15 feet high in that range, to the top of the.
So is the front area above the restaurant the same height as the back of the building?
I'm not sure.
The roof area of the restaurant, if you took that all the way back, is there a change in the height?
Yes.
Okay.
The back is up by, point to the side, my side,
The side
south
elevation.
elevation. You can see the front lower section is Sanducci. If you go to the back, it jumps up over the back of the rest of it.
So that's how it currently exists?
That's how it currently exists.
There's 3 proposed units to be placed on top of the restaurant section.
That is correct.
None to be placed on top of the rear section, which is already at a higher level.
None to be replaced over here.
And 2 of the 3 apartments, is there any height difference between the rear of the building and the front of the building?
No.
By front, I mean,
It's
Kinnickmack Road.
approximately the same height, within inches.
Can you show the board that if you went across the roof, would it be somewhat consistent?
I'll just say, this existing mansard section on the right of the sheet, if you take that straight across, you see a hatch, I mean, a trim line for the apartments. That's the lower section that we're adding. It's pretty much equal to the top of the parapet of the building behind us.
And that would be 2 units. Now, the 3rd unit is slightly higher. What is that?
Pardon me?
What would that look like?
Well, the other unit is slightly higher. It's just over approximately 20-foot wide section, 25 feet of the, and it sits over the pizza shop directly, and then a small section over Sanducci's, and it's just up.
I'm sorry.
It's just an elevated section.
Okay, and then the rest goes across, I guess, southbound on Kinnickmack.
Southbound is the same height as the rest of the building.
Are you familiar with the neighborhood?
Yes,
In fact, you've done work on this property in the past.
I did work on this particular property, yes.
To the north, is there any other buildings that you're aware of? To the north on the same side of the street?
Or is building next door has apartments on it?
Yes.
You can go further up.
And is the height of that building higher than what is anticipated with the 3rd unit?
I do not.
Is it, from your view of the neighborhood, consistent with what you have designed?
Yes.
Now, why, you're an architect, you design things, why did you make it a different height?
Well, it's sort of an evolution. We were trying to get, a mix in the units, and we thought that a better unit would be to have an upper level, and if we get 1 2-bedroom in it, which has some marketing advantages, as well as just more amenities, and just, we suggested that we go that route.
Is there any, have you designed mixed-use properties in other places?
Yes.
And is there a desire from your experience to have a boxy look or a different?
Usually we break them up as much as we can, different size, change heights, different roof lines.
And is that what your desire here?
That, it enhances this, yes.
The materials, are we talking powder blue paint as opposed to different colors, or we're going to use similar colors that will be uniform and similar materials?
Yes, so similar materials are blended with the whole thing.
What about spotlights? Are they going to be shining into people's houses?
Now, we
and
have
other
no
buildings?
spotlights, there's no signage on the front, other than the existing Sanducci sign, with the name. But there's no signage on this facade, on any of these, any of the facades on the side.
And seriously, about outside lighting, would there be any intensity of outside lighting on this particular structure based upon these?
Not for these uses.
In terms of screening for any kind of I don't know, are there going to be any mechanicals?
Yeah, each of these units will have mechanical systems of heating and air conditioning. We have a 3-foot-8 parapet on the southern end, so you won't see it. The existing units now do not be seen on the street. They're hidden behind the parapet. This unit is slightly higher parapet, and the units that are up there presently are only about 3.5 feet high, and they're going to be raised up this level so they'll be concealed. And any of the units in these apartments will be residential, so they'll be very small, they'll probably be 3 by 3 square, maybe 2 feet high, and thereabouts, it's pretty happy.
Yeah, so the next part of the mechanicals is also penetrations, but since they're small residential units, they're not going to be significant penetrations in the area on the roof.
Well,
Piping and HVAC.
Nothing coming up.
Right.
No, we won't see anything rising above the top.
Now, in the commercial setting, those are normally shown to be penetrations that come up, correct? Commercials.
Yeah, the commercial application.
Now, in regard to parking, previously, did you, were you involved when the property was being considered for a restaurant? Are you aware of that application? Did you review the prior application as to parking?
There was a site plan, architectural site plan submitted, Well, we were looking at that, and we looked at a prior site plan by John.
And based upon your review, did you determine if the amount of parking spaces that are present on the property as opposed to parking spaces that were deemed to be present? Yeah, what I mean by that is, could you explain to the board?
Yeah, so what we did is I had two employees go down each site. Mr. Walker, they came back and said that the parking was different. So I had to go back down and, let me say this to my engineer. We're not engineers, we're not surveyors, but we could measure parking spaces, stripe by stripe. And we laid out, based on our measurements, what the actual parking that was on the site is. And that's what my plan is representing. It's actually on the site. So,
and were you aware of what was approved previously for the property with regard to the restaurant? How many spaces?
Prior approvals.
Working?
Refresh your recollection that 31 was approved by resolution?
31.
Okay, and how many are actually present? And how many were present based upon your review?
For the entire site?
Now.
40 spaces.
Now, are these legitimate spaces or are
Yes,
these
all-
phony spaces?
They're all full.
Okay, and are these signed by your team?
Yes.
And how many were required previously when the restaurant was approved? 72?
Yes.
And how many are required now based upon if the board approves the 3 additional residential units? Would you need?
78.
Okay, and that would be 6 more?
60.
Based upon your review of the property and conformance with your design of the particular units, do you find that there's sufficient parking for the purpose that you designed?
I believe it is.
Now,
Well, Mr. Martin, let me just stop you for a second. Mr. Laurie, you didn't number the parking spaces on your drawings, the 40 that you say exist, correct? I don't see it.
There are numbers on There are numbers. Each stall is a number. There's 40. There's 37 to 40 are in the front of the building.
Oh, I don't have that.
This is revised. This is red one.
This is the revision. First, were your plans were revised once?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the last, just for the record, what's the last date of revision?
6/9/17.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
and for the record, Mr. Molstock, all of the plans were supplied to the secretary.
Yeah, I'm not saying they weren't provided. I don't have a copy in my file, that's all.
No, I agree. Unfortunately, this application has a tortured history. It was noticed, the board had changed over, plans were delivered, and they were missing, and there were no bunch of issues.
What are the size of the stalls, Mr. Laurie?
Nine by 18.
And is that generally the appropriate stall size for parking in,
Pretty much, everyone has parking spaces. Sometimes that's generally, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask a question?
Mr. Costa.
When you go out to the site today, if I went there right now, parking spaces are striped.
Yes,
You're saying that the stripe spaces, there's 40?
it's as is planned. Yes.
If I go out there tonight,
Yes.
simple question. I get up from here, I go there, there's lines in the parking lot. How many spots are in the parking lot?
40. 40.
So it's not that you measured them and cut them down, this is what this.
Oh, this is physically what it is, yes.
So you don't really have to measure them. All you would have to do is go 1, 2, 3,
Well,
4, 5, 6.
you're correct, but we did it because I want to make sure we're getting somewhere.
So 40 spaces are physically there today.
That is correct.
and those spaces are the legitimate size of 9 by 18 and not 15 by 7. That's why you measure them?
Well, I really put together a plan on these actions.
How would you determine?
Now, what type of individuals,
Property.
were you designing these units for?
Oh, okay.
Large families?
Well, I mean, the one bedroom associated, is, 754 square feet, with 800
So without this,
Four, I believe, or-
How many spaces?
880. So, and the two bedrooms are the large, is large. So they're mostly for, couples or single people, not children. When children in the side units, and we've done a lot of midline parking like units in other towns, 5-story units. And, they get occupied very quickly, usually by a single person.
If I could ask one question, I'm sorry, just while we're on the topic of units, do we understand who the intended market is? Is it for the property owner, is it for rent or for sale? In terms of what types of units we're talking about?
And rent.
So all
We
three are for
designed it as a
rentals?
rent.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what the owner's intention.
Could we maybe get a little input on?
That's what I was going to call them, that's fine.
All right.
We'll say-
Not for anybody who occupies the site currently?
Oh, no one's working.
Wondering.
Wait a second, he's not sworn yet. Wait,
Okay. I jumped the gun, I apologize.
let's deal only with
He's
Mr.
talking about
Laurie.
units, I just.
That's all right, let's deal with Mr. Laurie. Mr. Laurie, your plan indicates that there's a verbal agreement with the adjacent property owner, correct?
Correct.
For shared use of parking. Okay. How many spaces would be lost if this shared parking arrangement did not exist?
Most often, I present Exhibit A1 on the agreement. It's now, there's a letter of agreement on that.
All right. We'll mark this document A1. So just for the board, I'll read it since it's short. It's a letter of agreement between MCG Realty LLC and Hannah Realty LLC. Dated, what's today's date?
27.
Dated today. This letter acknowledges that a shared parking arrangement has existed between the above parties since 2002. Specifically, the parties share 12 parking space is located along the southeast fence behind 606 Kinderkmack Road. The parties hereby agree to continue this shared parking arrangement. It is further agreed that in the event that any tenancies located on either of the above-listed properties change, each party will notify the other of the change in tenancy and will also notify any new tenant of the existing parking arrangement as set forth above. It is the intention of the parties to this agreement that the shared parking arrangement set forth herein shall continue in perpetuity. Signed by the parties. Dated today.
Now, that doesn't remove the question that the board attorney asked, which is a good one. Considering the shared parking arrangement, how many of those spots are in, I believe, Steve, your question was, how many are you considering of the 40 spots?
There's 12, they say 12 in the letter.
It is 12 by count.
Okay. So it'll be 28 and 12.
That's good.
Just to be clear, they're not dedicated spots to this property. They're shared between the two properties. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, I believe that will be Mr. Gorski's testimony.
Okay.
You talked about lighting, you talked about signage, you talked about parking.
Actually, I just want to bring up a complete side. I just wanted to ask the chair a question. And I really didn't have much, we won't change anything, but when we were hearing the application for the apartments that are now under construction on Kinderkmack, my understanding was that it was 2.3 per apartment parking spaces. That was what I think it came up, maybe it's in our code or something like that. But I remember that being the number rather than 2. 2.3 is still going to be under the number that they have, and they're going to have to get a variance no matter what. But I just wanted to, I remember that it was 2.3. This just says 2.
Mr. Costa?
Just wanted to bring that up.
Well, Mr. Behrens, I'm sorry.
Just to clarify, regardless of what the borough standards are, there's what supersede that are the New Jersey residential site improvement standards. And their criteria is that for a 2-bedroom unit, 2 spaces are required, and for a 1-bedroom unit, 1.8 are required. So they are correct at 6 additional spaces.
Okay.
All right. And I understand your issue, but 6 spaces.
Okay, question probably for the lawyer. The fact that this is a mixed-use building, how do you quantify spots with the variance? Meaning there's already been a variance granted for the commercial activity on the lot, which is they're permitted to have 40 spots for their business.
All right, so let me because we're a new application, that variance goes by the wayside. Is that correct?
That's what I want to understand.
Yeah, this is a whole new understanding of the parking based on what's going to happen now, not what happened in the past.
That's what I'm saying. So we're considering the requirements of parking both on the commercial and the residential.
That is correct.
So we disregard what is in existence, and it's a total of what they would require. So they're asking a variance from 78 down to 40.
Yep.
As opposed to they're not just asking a variance for the 6.
Correct.
Okay, I wanted to clarify that on the record, that it is completely wiping out the existing parking variance.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
It is correct, Mr. Burrows, but the applicant's position is it's an additional 6 off of the 31 that was approved. It's actually 40, so it was 31 for 72 spots that were required. Wipe that out, but it was previously granted for good reason. We're saying essentially we're already within that window of 31 to 40 anyhow.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
It's a persuasive argument as
Well,
opposed
yeah,
to a
that's an
non-
argument you can consider, you can certainly consider the prior variance, but you are correct that this is an expansion of the variance that was previously granted. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I call it a pre-existing non-conforming.
Pre-existing.
If I could just address one thing, because I understand there's some numbers going on with parking. Some of you probably noticed the discrepancy between the numbers that I just talked about and with my memo. The difference is how many are being calculated for the Napa Auto retail space. I calculated it as a retail space, we're being told that it's primarily a wholesale dealer. There's a discrepancy. Technically, the prior resolution, when the restaurant moved in, was for 84 spaces. The resolution says that. We're being told now that it's reduced because they're considering Napa to be more of a wholesale as opposed to a retail operation, and that's for the board to distinguish if they accept that or not. And so that's the discrepancy.
What defines that?
Wholesale versus retail? Retail, potentially, if any one of us could go in and buy
Which is,
windshield wipers.
which is true there now.
They've made testimony that 90% of their business is wholesale, so it's for the board to deliberate on and see if that's enough to persuade them.
All right, we're not, let's let him finish his testimony, then we'll go back to the questions and answers, because I'm sure we all have a few more questions that we want to get answered.
And Mr. Chairman, my other witnesses will help clarify those issues as
All
well.
right, well, let's finish with him first.
Mr. Laurie, before we move to your measurements and height and how you got there, talk about lighting, signage, parking, architecture, design, individuals that will be residing there, trash recycling. Does that intensify the trash? Does this particular addition intensify the trash recycling at the site?
Dumpster location in the back, and friendly residential of this side is going to have small bag leak. And that's possibly water.
And just for the location, for the design, they would be in the northeast corner, is that appropriate?
Well, it exists presently.
And it needs appropriate screening, is that existing?
Yes, there's a fence in there.
And this additional use, would that intensify the need for additional screening or additional?
No, it's the same piece as used.
Now, in terms of, can you go back to the elevations page? All right, there's been talk about, in fact, addressing it in completeness, there's been talk about the calculations as to height. Before we get into height, the actual stories. The two apartments will be a second story. Two of the three apartments will be a second story.
That's correct.
So there will only be 2 stories, and that's within the code.
That is.
Okay. Now, the additional story will that be 2.5? Within the code is 2.5. Is that correct?
Yes.
The additional story would be 3.
It will be a full 3.
Okay. So you got 2 stories. That's within the 2.5. The additional one will be 3. There's actually that exceeds it, and that will be a variance required for the stories. Correct?
Yes.
How do you see the height? Do you see a need for a variance on the height, and how did you calculate the height for the board?
So we took first of all, we took this to front height, obviously. And we actually took averages off the corners, but we may have done it in a different interpretation. We took it perpendicular on each one because the grades were so severe. And the front is so detached from the other section.
Mr. Chairman, before we get into height, I'm going to make it simple.
Yes, sir.
Very simple. The ordinance was recrafted many years ago because of height. There was a big concern when a lot of people were building large houses. The average grade 6 feet out, you run around the building, wherever there's breaks in the building, you take the grade 6 feet out. I'm going to make it simple. I did a quick count. Your average grade is roughly 49.5 to 50. Your finished floor isn't shown on the plan, but it looks like from the grades in the front, 56, give or take. Well, you have 0 there.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the actual grade?
56?
Yes,
55 and change?
55.
Let's go 56.
Okay.
Give me a couple inches.
Okay.
56. Now, from your finished floor, you're going up to the top of your roof. I can't read the number, it's so small. 34, 80 something, 35?
Yes. Proper roof is
You're 6 feet.
35.
You're 6 feet short, my friend. So your average grade, your average height is 41. Roughly.
So we're 60 short.
Well, if you're 35 from 0, from your
Yeah.
finished floor, which is 56,
Right.
your average grade is roughly 50. You have 6 feet. and I'm probably not that far off again. So you would need a variance, and you would need in excess of 10%, right?
D6 variance, based on that calculation.
But you can certainly do the count, you can do it yourself, but I think that's where you're at. So you would need a variance for that little, but for some reason, when I looked at your elevations, there's something sticking on your elevations, and I thought that was existing, but can you just explain that as you're looking on the top elevation?
Here,
Yes. What is that?
this is all,
No, the light color right there, what is that?
this is part of the building again.
But is that the existing building?
No,
So why is that light in the trade?
because I think that's an error, to be honest with you.
So it's,
And that's,
It's a graphic.
just Mr. Murphy, go back to your point. I thought that was the existing building, but it's not.
This keeps on running.
Well,
So I didn't think it was exceeding the existing building, but I think that isn't the existing
It's a
building.
graphic error, I didn't even see it.
Someone has to get fired tomorrow.
They will, I fired people.
my question was as to, either one of you design professionals received the height calculation? The answer I got was no.
No. But again, I wanted to question the witness, because looking at his elevation, it looks as if it wasn't exceeding the existing building height. And I'm not sure if it would require a variance if it wasn't going over. I don't know if it would be an expansion, at the same level, it might not require a variance.
Well,
So-
since we're on a topic.
I'll get to that.
No problem. Almost there.
Wouldn't it be proper to have a hard calculation by the applicant for everybody to review?
No question.
Okay. End of case.
My question is, can you still consider this, if that's an additional variance that's not put forward before us, hasn't been noticed, without the proper calculation, can you still consider this? That's my question for the lawyer.
Yes,
Yes, the notice.
yes. The notice specifically said any and all other variances which may be necessary. And I believe, and this is why I'm saying, they've already asked for a use variance.
Okay,
So if they hadn't asked for use variance
okay.
and just asked for, you know, a bulk variance, then I would agree with you that the notice is defective. But the fact that they're already here for a use,
I just wanted to
they need
clarify.
another
I
height.
wanted to clarify.
Yep. No, good question, and you're right. Okay.
I agree with both of you on that. But fortunately, it's a zoning board issue, we get for different use. If you take off the third story and you make all three apartments one level, is there any need for a D6 variance? No. Is that a stipulation? If that were the case.
I don't think,
Height.
If you what?
Oh,
Say it
for
again.
height,
I want to talk,
not for use, but for height.
it would seem
Oh,
to
wonderful.
eliminate the need for it. You still have to deal with the top of roof issue, which shows 35 feet and change. I think you could adjust.
No, what would your finished floor then be to the, what's your finished floor to that height? I can't, yeah, the numbers are so small.
Which is
There you go, right there.
this right
That
now,
one, for the 2 stories.
finished floor is, 14 feet.
No, go to the next one, listen to the roof,
23 two.
to the roof.
To the roof, and there's the top,
So not the parapet, top of the
top
top
of the roof.
for that lower portion.
23.
No, I know, let me correct. 28. Sorry.
I think it's 23-2.
I'd say no, it's 24, 24.
This one says 23-2.
Yeah.
You still need the
No, you
calculation.
need to count.
Yeah, just like,
Robert, I don't think I'm
this
that far
came
off.
out on the 21st.
But if they have to submit a calculation, there's no question about it.
We will provide.
But it's your testimony that it is 30 feet, correct? 24 plus 6?
That would be to this level,
It's only a check.
to the second floor level. That's what we're talking about.
They need to do the calculation, but it's roughly somewhere around 30 feet. I don't think they would need a height variance on that. But they would have to certainly prove that out.
And Mr. Chairman, my question was if the applicant chose to design just the three one-level apartments, as if the only issue was the third apartment, the two-story apartment. So if that were to be the case, and I would request in a little while the ability to speak with my client about that, but if that would be the case, I believe there wouldn't be a need for any kind of use variance on that issue. Just the residential use.
But you're not asking for that now.
No, I'm not asking for that now.
Okay.
I just wanted to, there was a lot of numbers being thrown around.
We're still dealing with the entire application as submitted, which our engineer believes.
Let's finish up this testimony so we can go to questions and answers.
Sure. Almost done. And you didn't find any circulation problems in terms of the use of the property with these three apartments? Or
No.
traffic?
It's minimal. I'm not a traffic engineer, but it's logic, it's minimal traffic. People probably run across, catch the bus or walk down the train station in the morning, go and come back at night. It's not that much traffic is there.
And all your opinions tonight have been to a reasonable degree of architectural certainty?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, any questions?
You know what, I'm gonna go to our professionals first. Let them ask their questions. I'll go to the board, and then I'll open it to the public. Mr. Costa?
The primary question was the building height calculation, so I think,
All right, so if there is some action done tonight, we could make that part of the, well,
You can't.
No, you can't, because if it's not,
It would in any case have to be carried to see those
you want to understand the
calculations.
extent of relief being made. And they want that too, right? So, understand what the actual will be,
all right.
hypothetically.
Mr. Costa?
I think certainly we clarified what's going on. The only question I had was the letter that was just read into evidence by the attorney, 12 spots. I think the original, one of the original resolutions said 31 parking spaces. That's cool. So if you have 40, you lost a few spaces along the way to the neighbor. So I don't know how you got to 12. Well, if you have 40, you're down to 28. But the original paperwork on this was that Gary had 31. So I don't know how the neighbor got 12. You understand what I'm saying?
The answer to
Yeah,
that.
I'm very clear. I don't know if the engineer, the architect.
One of the original approvals basically granted a variance of 84 parking spaces required, and the board proved out that he has 31.
Mhm.
The architect testified that he has 40 with the shared space, but now the neighbor is sharing 12. 40 minus 12 is 28. Somewhere. Well, no,
When you come up.
yeah, I mean, I believe it's shared that all 12 can be with one person. I wanted to consider or not. I don't think we can speak to use of 12, so that's important. We can have it the way it is. If that is the case, either 3 are missing, or if it's not the case, then you have more than what you were granted in the max. That's what it means. If you take off the top, I'm pretty confident you don't need the D variance. If you go to that, then you have 3 bedrooms.
3 1.
I'm sorry, 3 1-bedrooms.
Well,
That would be,
you got
then
space
that would drop the parking requirements slightly also.
And I guess I don't know how you guys come up with 12. But if you allow here, oh, at 11, is the end of this triangle. 12, and 12 one is really independent on.
From my recollection, and I am getting older, I think it was back that if that neighbor decided to put a fence up, what would be used and what couldn't be used. And then I think what was discussed that you could put parallel parking spaces on some of those spaces, so you picked up an additional couple of spaces. I think that's what it was.
Well, I can't, let me, Bob, you're right. Yeah, I'm looking at the site plan approval application 2010-01, memorialized June 17, 2010. In fact, 31 spaces were proposed. But it also indicates in this resolution that at least 2 of the spaces measured 9 by 24, and it doesn't indicate what the other spaces are measured. So it's conceivable that over time, spaces that were supposed to have been a little bigger, I think because of access into the spaces, but I wasn't here, that's why we have a discrepancy over the years.
And again, Mr. Molstock, I don't believe all 12 were dedicated to one, and we lost 12, although it's an issue that needs to be clarified. I believe there could be use for the 12 by the applicant's property. In any event, if it were 6 spots for 2 one-bedroom units and 1 2-bedroom unit, it would be reduced. If it were going to be reduced to what? 3 spots?
That's 5.4, right? 1.8.
1.8 times 3.
5.4. I mean, no.
So your average.
5.8. Sorry, 1.8, 5.6.
5.4 on the RSIS is 5.
Mr. Martin, I'm going to mark this 2010 resolution as A-2, so we have it. Let's get a copy to you.
Mr. Molstock, you need the other 3 resolutions on this, I have them.
Thank you.
Mr. Costa, anything else?
No, I think it's, the only other question I would have, you go on top of the pizzeria, and I know Mr. Lerman, how would that structure support what you propose?
Oh, the pizzeria roof is actually lower than.
No, I understand, but that building isn't even a building, it's a shed, my recollection.
Oh, whatever structural analysis we have to do, and we do.
Steel, a lot of it, I would imagine.
But it is, actually,
I mean, I know the other part of the structure in Sanducci's, those are concrete plank. This ceiling was a concrete plank, from my recollection.
and it's steel frames.
But I know that other, again, I call them apartments. It was a yogurt shop, it was, might have been a limo place at one time. There's a lot of things. It was a lot of side bar, but
I think
it would have to be cleaned up.
with any construction project, we have to analyze construction to make it sound.
Would have to comply with any of the construction requirements that are pretty thorough, correct?
Yes, state code.
Mr. Monroe? Ms. Baldwin?
I do have a question. As far as the shared parking, what's the other use that's sharing? Does it conflict to the same use?
I believe it's a restaurant, but Mr. Gorski can testify.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Anybody else on this side? On this side?
Where is this one? There? Over here.
We'll go with Mr. Craig.
I just wanted 2 questions about kind of visual impact of this. You said there's about a 15-foot grade difference between the front of the property and the back of the property? Roughly, okay. So there's residential units behind the property there, correct?
Yeah.
So from the standpoint of their, perspective, with the 3-story addition.
They'll never see it.
They'll never see it.
They'll never see it. The perspective, they have to look across. This is the existing building. Sorry, for standing in front of this. If I'm on the ground back here, I'm right there. If I'm on the ground back here, I'm looking up, I can can never see the structure all the way up front. The sight line isn't allowed. You can never see it.
What about coming down Kinderkamak?
Oh, of course you see it coming down Kinderkamak, but the question was behind, am I correct on that?
That was what I asked.
Yeah. I
The
mean,
boats won't see it.
Pardon me?
The boats as they're traveling up and down the river. It's the river back there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the railroad tracks?
The railroad, so it's not visible from the back there. It also drops off again. So
Okay, I think what was being asked is, would it be visible from Kinderkamak Road?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
I have a question pertaining just to that third story bump out. You've got a neighboring property to the left, I'd call it 12 or 15 feet. Does that impact significantly in terms of sunlight?
No,
being
not at
blocked?
all, because we have a drive, and that route must be, I'm guessing, I don't remember exactly, it's slightly high, about the same height as Sanducci, so it doesn't impact on that property at all.
Mr. Craig?
Plus, I might add, I'm sorry, it's north right.
Well, no, south is the other way.
Yeah, but you're asking if this impacts over here.
No, the other way.
Oh, the other one, I'm sorry, I put them in front.
I may have misspoke.
No, it's minimal impact.
Mr. Craig? Is that it?
Yeah.
Mr. Caskin?
Mr. Lurie, how are you accounting for the ventilation of the pizza oven and the Sanducci's Pizzeria? Is that going to be vented through the new residential here, or is that going to be, how is that vented now?
We really didn't do mechanical study yet, but we have to, there are different codes mechanical codes that cover that also, because certain ventilation can't be between 10 feet of windows and so on and so forth. We have to account for all that as the project moves forward. We usually do that when we get an engineer involved and so on.
Okay. And I noticed on your drawings there, on the south elevation, you're showing 3 windows on the second level. Our drawings don't show that. Far south.
This, you don't have windows right here?
No?
No.
No. You're right.
I don't know why.
The plans have been revised, and I think due to the personnel in the office on a daily basis, there may have been a mix-up of who got what.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
There are windows.
Check the date on your plans, so June 9th.
No, the only June 9th revision was PA 1.
We don't have any revisions.
I do have.
We have a separate.
We have a separate sheet of PA 1.
Yeah, do you have, can I see the floor plan you have? I don't understand the way it works. There's the windows here, right?
Right, but if you flip the page.
Yeah, I see that.
Elevations
It's on
don't
mine.
have it, elevations don't have it, that's why I was.
I don't know why, I honestly don't have an answer to that one.
Yeah, I
don't
do
have
actually,
an
Mr. Chisaki and I spoke about this. Unfortunately, there's personnel changes, but we had delivered multiple sets of complete plans to everyone. And it just, the times there wasn't anybody to take the plans. We delivered them. That's good. Take us to Compton and what's that? Burns can attest to that. We delivered the plans on multiple occasions.
They did first.
Yeah, because we had to deliver them, they didn't get there, and then we had to go through all this.
They were very diligent.
I think we can make an exception on, particularly because of the windows. It's just windows.
Except one last question. You show elevations from the north, the south, and the west. Any particular reason why you didn't show it from the east? Are there any windows in the back facing eastward?
No.
Nothing, so it's just
So there is a window, though, that you have added on the south drawing within a bathroom, and that is not represented on the south elevation. So that's why I was wondering why that's not
That's not,
south.
that wouldn't be the south.
This would, I'm sorry, this would be the,
That would be the east elevation. It won't be there.
no, yeah, I'm sorry, that's what I meant, there's no east elevation.
No, you know what, well, we didn't do east. We mostly see the back of the existing building and this little thing so far in the distance. So we didn't represent that.
Just hold on, Mike. Let the doctor finish.
So I have a question in terms of the laws of residential affordable housing units. With any additional units,
I don't think this
This
qualifies
does not.
under affordable housing, no.
Usually the threshold is 5 units or more.
it's 5.
5 or more.
I wasn't sure if it was space, like occupancy based or.
It's a good question. I mean, they could propose that they all are, it's not the case here, but they're not required.
It's not required by law.
No.
Yeah, our position on that is it is not required by law, but it gives an additional amount of housing that's required, or looks to be required in the region as opposed to saturated areas like Sherryville and those type of apartments. This just gives another opportunity.
Please.
Couple of quick questions for you, Mr. Martin. Are you going to present any engineering testimony?
We weren't planning on this now.
Okay, so the site plan as shown with the count and the sizes is the architect.
That's correct, sir.
Okay, so,
There's not, I don't believe there was gonna be any, question as to any runoff issues or issues that would require, any kind of civil engineering analysis. If there were, we were gonna do that, but I believe Mr. Ward, you said there was.
No,
so, all right, he's the chosen one.
Well, what?
You are, if I recall, planning or presenting a planner.
There is a.
Okay, because I'm gonna say questions for her.
Thank you.
And the applicant also?
Yeah, he's next.
Okay, no, okay. All right. I'm trying to avoid any overlap.
Thank you.
I've got some notes and then we're gonna have some other discussions. From your testimony, Mr. Laurie, you said that the reason that you're proposing the residential within this commercial zone is for marketing advantages.
no. What I said
That's what I
was
heard
the
you
mix-
say.
The mix of the units. is what
Okay,
I said.
so,
The use was driven by my client's desire to have a mixed-use building.
for what advantage?
Pardon me? No, it was really the design program brought to me was apartments. We suggested putting in 1 2-bedroom, so we could get a little mix in the market.
So if I hear you correctly, the reason, the purpose of this is so there could be a mixed use? In other words, put residential within the commercial zone?
Yeah, but like, a client generally comes to us with a program,
I understand that,
and that's what we designed.
because I heard you say marketing advantage.
No, when I was talking about putting in a single 2-bedroom unit.
Just to go over a couple items that you touched on, I heard you say there's no new signs.
Pardon me?
I believe you stated that there were no new signs.
We're not anticipating any new signs, no, sir.
Okay. And I believe you had a bit of a discussion about the HVC screening.
Yes,
That's also true from Monroe and Kentakamak, both directions.
yes.
Will or will not be visible.
It won't be residential.
It won't be visible.
No, sir.
And if for some reason it was installed and it was visible, part of the motion would be that you would come back and screen
We can screen it. We can mount unit screens.
it.
But I don't believe it's going to be necessary.
Let's go to the, was it A2?
Yes, A2,
Can you look at that?
resolution of 2010.
No, the agreement on parking.
Shared agreement,
Yes, A2.
shared parking, A1.
A1. Mr. Martin, I guess maybe you have to explain this along with the architect. What is the permanency of this document? Especially if any one of those buildings changes hands.
I'm just gonna call you Judge Mead. me, I apologize.
No, I'd rather be where I am, okay?
I got you. It's in perpetuity. There would be obviously a more formalized document. There's been a verbal agreement that has been unchanged for a number of years. I believe that something in writing was appropriate. Getting a hold of the individual who owns the other property was not as easy as I thought. Once we were able to get a hold of him, he overwhelmingly agreed with continuing the relationship of sharing parking, and that is essentially to memorialize that verbal statement, and then we could agree going forward. If there's a change of ownership, that would be something that would need to be addressed in maybe a more formal document.
So there's a possibility it could be revocable.
Maybe not revocable, but it could be without any power. So
Could
that
be
would be
withdrawn
something-
by a new tenant, by a new owner?
That could be something that we would need to address in terms of filing with the county clerk as to a more formal agreement.
Don't you think that's
Well,
important?
let me say this.
Maybe a license.
If you were to look on this application favorably,
Mhm.
that document, or some document, would have to be recorded. Absolutely. There would have to be.
As an easement.
Absolutely. You would need a recorded document that runs with the land,
Okay, right.
that binds, obviously, future,
Or a license, I agree.
would be like a deed restriction in a
Right.
different sense. It have to, absolutely, because any purchaser of either property would have to abide by that agreement. Otherwise, it's worth nothing.
Just to clarify, would that be a condition or something they would need to furnish for the applicant? Would that be a condition of approval?
Sure. That's what, if,
Okay.
Mr. Merriman, if that's one aspect of it. Another aspect is, without that, is the application appropriate? So there's a...
Are you asking me personally?
No, I'm just saying that we would submit it as, if there's currently the parking 31 as per Exhibit A2, with these additional 6 spots, how would the board look at it with the current conditions that are now present, which I believe might be...
I don't know if Mr. Merman can answer.
No, I'm just saying, we may look to, well, the board may require certain parking requirements that may or may not need to be involving the easement, that's all. One aspect is yes, one aspect is no.
I guess the question would be very simple. Is the applicant willing to, or both people that signed this letter, willing to include that as a deed restriction on the properties? Because without it, we're approving an addition, and then this goes away. You're going to take the addition back, take the addition down?
Chair, I agree with you. We can look at it as to the parking that's in existence now. 31 approved in the past, 40 present now. Is there sufficient parking with this additional 6? Or, if there's not, would there be with this particular agreed upon easement?
It just seems that this right now, the way it is, without some sort of acclamation from the other property owner that he's willing to do a deed restriction.
Let me
I don't know if
understand.
that even be considered.
Yeah, exactly. Let me understand, Mr. Martin, what you just said. Are you saying that you would be willing to submit the application to this board without
A1.
without the 12 spaces?
Well,
it's 31 here.
What?
it would be
31.
31 and there's testimony.
Well, forget how many.
Yeah.
Forget how many. We have testimony that without the shared agreement, you lose 12 spaces.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I mean, we
But
know
then
that it's under
right,
par.
exactly.
Would you want this board to consider that? Is that what you're asking?
Well, that's one aspect of the review. If the board was to give an inclination that that would be appropriate. Our position is this. There are 40 actual spots. If 31 were approved on A2, which is the 2010 resolution, we're actually 9 spots over what was approved, and there's 6 that are needed. We're well within reason to relying for a variance. I think Dr. Brewitt's
No, not so quick. No, there were, A2 says you got a variance for 53, you got a variance for 53 parking spaces at that time. Yeah, you needed 84.
Yes.
You only provided 31.
Exactly.
So you can't use that as the good doctor said before.
Also, I have a question.
This is under park to start with.
I agree.
You put
Okay.
words in my mouth.
Okay.
I just wanted to know if we had to accept that, or if we got to start
No.
over.
No. So,
Get started over.
the question is,
Persuasive.
from this point, would you want the board to consider this application without considering the 12 spaces which are on the southern part of the parking lot?
I would like the ability, when we do continue it for a calculation.
Okay.
To have a discussion with the owner. As
Very
to
good.
a formal file.
Very good.
But you can, one could look at it a different way, maybe the board would want to do that, but I'm just.
Ms. Boland?
Yeah, you're saying that there's 40 without the shared. I believe the 40 includes the shared.
I think Mr. Gorski can better speak on that than Mr. Lori, he might have misspoke. The man who actually was involved in the agreement is here, and I will call him that.
But the way the spaces are numbered, it does include the 12.
Yeah, I believe it would include the shared arrangement.
Yes.
So that's when you end up with 28 spaces.
If the 12 were considered exclusively for the other use, I believe it's a shared use that arguably all 12 could be used.
I suggest we get back to the parking issue after the owner gets a chance to testify. But I do have a couple questions.
Well, I'm not done.
Oh. I apologize. Go ahead. You're bringing up sprinklers, correct?
No, I'm not.
Oh, I thought you were. Go ahead.
No, I'm not, but indirectly. One question before that, and it'll be to Mr. Gorski, but it's also, well, we're talking parking numbers. When Sanducci's was granted outdoor seating,
Yes.
was there any additional seats added to the total? No. So whatever seats there were outside was removed from the interior?
I'm looking at you like a deer in headlights. I don't know the answer to that.
Well,
From my recollection, maybe Tom, they were supposed to drag 16 chairs out and put 16 chairs in. That's what I've never seen the chairs go back in. But again, I'm not the chair police.
you're not the chairperson?
I'm the chairperson, but not the chair police.
Ms. Jim, listening to the past couple of minutes here, and again, and I know the applicant is spending a lot of money and the board is, but I think you got a few things going on. Number one is the second story coming off, not coming off. If it is, you gotta have to do the height, figure out whether you need one or not, whether you do. Parking seems like everybody's going back into the parking, and I think until you figure out what the parking is, what the parking demand is, I think quite frankly, you need a parking engineer, expert, traffic engineer to say, okay, between 7 and 8, or 8 and 10, this many parking spaces for that. Between this time, this many people for Sanducci's, this many people for the drop-off, and we should have to look at it as a shared parking, whether or not these additional units are going to
Benefit either building.
exactly. And I think at that point, come back, whatever the person is next door, get it in writing, or don't get it in writing. Then you have 31 parking spaces when they put the fence up, or with the shared parking, you have 40, and they take 12, they can only take 6, I don't know. And I think those are the answers you need. Otherwise, I think you're gonna go around in a circle for the rest of the night.
I totally agree, Mr. Costa. As always, you're wise beyond your years.
I don't know about that.
Mr. Kelly, may I speak with my people for just a moment? Unless
I'd like him to finish before.
One more question. And I'll give credit to Mr. Costa. Mr. Costa points out that there are other approvals required, one of which is our fire department. Do we have a report from at least the fire department regarding this application?
I haven't seen anything.
I do not believe, I believe that they get copies of the application, and in the past, they've always had an opportunity to come.
Well, especially since you're looking at a mixed-use situation, I think the fire department should go, either give it its blessing or not, or say, don't worry about it, or they got concerns.
So,
As well, the police department is supposed to have,
Well, there's a whole list.
I'm saying, but specifically,
Right.
the fire department and the police department.
Right.
so we'll invite both of them up to our next meeting, to comment. But I'm
going, I'll go with Mr. Laurie for now, but I reserve the right.
you always have the right. I did have a question, piggybacked onto the fire. Right now in the existing building, are there a sprinkler system in place, or just a hood system? The architect can answer
I
that.
don't remember, I was in it so many times, I just didn't.
Was the pizza good? Do you remember that? Okay. All right. Are there any more questions? All right, so don't leave. Don't run away. We're gonna open this to the public, because we do have public here. Do I have a motion open to the public?
Motion open to the public.
Second, do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed, any abstained? Okay, this is the public's opportunity. I know that this is only for the architect. No questions outside of his testimony will be accepted at this point. Do you have any questions? We'll start in the front. Come on, state your name.
Thank you.
That's his job. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Brett Urban. I live at 5 Main Center Ave in Riverbridge.
Okay.
And I have probably a public reading that we'll take later, versus just questions based on the testimony at this point. Is that how we'll do that?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So I heard a lot of things while we were up here, and I just, obviously we need clarification around the number of spots and that. I mean, I heard a lot of different numbers from 78 to 40, 84 to 53, provided 31 spots. And without the 12 spots, we'd be down to 28. So there's a lot of math going on here. I'm a little off on what we settled on. I probably need to go back to learn math with my kids right now, with the new ways to do the math here, because these are a little off. I want to point out a few things that.
Just remember, you're just going to ask him questions.
Just ask
Direct.
Mr. Laurie.
Ask the questions
Okay.
direct.
Okay. So, Mr. Laurie, one of the things that you pointed out was that we talked about the use of those parking spots and when they would be used during the day, these types of things. Mostly, we're talking about the facility being maybe not Napa Valley, Napa being not retail, but more of a wholesale. We talked about some of the other businesses within the building and their usage. I thought it was interesting that we're only focusing on when we think people might work and when they don't. Right? Because we live in a global economy today, it's a global workforce.
Let me remind you, ask the question.
Well, I want to
Without
point out
making a
where my
statement.
question is coming from.
Well,
Is that fair?
without making a statement, because you weren't sworn, and this isn't the time to make your statement yet, that'll be at the end of the application. So focus in on asking him the questions rather than you making a statement.
Okay. Will all residents that are tenants that are rented tenants, will they be required to work specific hours?
I'm not trying to
Do
say.
you understand the question?
He's saying, if I understand.
He's saying, how do you know when the tenants are going to be home and when they're not going to be home? Do you? Yes or no?
I
You
would
don't?
not know.
Right.
All right.
Right. So for the statement earlier about when spaces would be used and would not be used is invalid, isn't it?
I did not make it.
Well, hold on. Go ahead, Mr. Laurie.
I did not address when they were not used.
You didn't? But perhaps it's the attorney sitting next to you.
No, you're asking Mr. Laurie. He says he doesn't know.
No, and I'm saying maybe he did not make a statement. Maybe the gentleman next to
Oh,
him did.
possibly.
That's our position.
Go ahead.
As long as it's specific. Be
Okay.
specific. please.
Okay, so you don't.
In fact, I did not make a specific statement for every occupant. So
Okay.
used.
Great, thank you. You did talk about the use of how these apartments would be used, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, essentially that, this is for one person, maybe a couple. Would that be restricted to only those?
It's not a restriction, it's just the obvious use of the unit would not take, would barely take a couple, it would probably, more than likely, based on my history with apartments like this and others I've done, usually they're single-use apartments. Usually, not saying it couldn't be, so the two-bedroom that's there now has a little more flexibility.
So you mentioned two-bedroom, but I would argue that the one-bedroom as well could have that flexibility. Certainly, anyone could leverage a living room,
Yes,
etc.
I'm just giving you the general use history of apartments like this.
Sure. You mentioned that most likely the usage would be people running for the train, potentially running for a bus. If that was the case, wouldn't that make the argument invalid that those cars would not be there during the day?
It's not that they would or wouldn't. If people are leaving in the morning, they're leaving in the morning. If they have a car and they take the car. Listen, I don't know the specifics of who's going to occupy the space. So I couldn't answer that specifically.
Right.
They might have somebody who's using a bus or a train, like my son, for example, he doesn't want a car, he doesn't use it. And a lot of people are not using cars today, or starting not to use it. So I don't know what the ultimate use is going to be.
So I commute to New York City with a bus and train. I've got two cars
Okay.
in my house, right?
It still needs to be a question.
I can't specifically answer what you're asking.
No, well,
I can't.
okay. Then I don't think that we should argue that the opposite.
Just objection to the statement.
So lighting, I had some questions about the lighting. You mentioned about that there wouldn't be any additional lighting. So are there no requirements for security lighting for residential area?
There's no requirement to put exterior lighting on the building. The only place it's required by code is at an exit.
Do we have any usage statistics of the parking today from the current tenants?
I couldn't testify.
Are you a patron of Sanducci's or any other businesses there? Sure. Yeah. And you find parking there every time?
Every time I go.
I live down the street. I don't.
I'm not saying you don't. I go there once a month for lunch. I've always done.
For lunch. Okay. I go during dinner. Do you find the exit out of that location to be satisfactory?
I'm not a traffic engineer.
So we're not addressing that.
Well, it is, the exits exist, and they service the building as it is. That's my answer. You couldn't say that.
I had some of the same questions around the ventilation and such from Pizza Kitchen and Sanducci's, et cetera, and what might have to be rerouted for purposes of if you put this other level on the apartments. I don't think you did address that a little bit. Could you tell me, in case I missed it, would there be a requirement to move the ventilation systems? And where would those go?
We only do that during construction documents period. So the mechanical code is very specific, the building codes are very specific. We had to reroute them, we did reroute.
Yeah, but the question, Mr. Laurie, is, are they capable of being rerouted?
Yeah,
For instance, if you had to vent on the north side of the building, would that impinge the driveway that goes up? That's the question.
We would provide a through shaft usually. If we had to, we provide a shaft right up to the apartment.
And I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. They have, and I can understand the gentleman's concern with garlic smell or whatever that would be emanating from the exhaust. Isn't there a...
You need to look at the person to your right.
I believe Mr. Herman, I believe Mr. Herman, weren't you involved in that many years ago?
With the garlic smell?
With the exhaust. With the exhaust system there.
Mr. Costa, quite frankly, I don't, I might have been,
Yeah,
but I don't remember.
Well, if it has to be rerouted, obviously it's gonna have to be redone. And my understanding is that they have a new technology to get rid of any of those issues. Yeah, please.
A little more, because I, just saying, we do about 15 major restaurants a year. All right? We run them, sometimes we have to vent up, going through high. There's always a way to vent. And that, I mean, that's an honest answer. When we do apartments over parking, you have to vent the apartments. We vent 4 stories. So it's very easy. It's not easy, it's work, but it's all doable. You can vent safely, you can vent away.
That's
from
the answer. That's the answer to your question. Can we check?
If I can, just 2 seconds. If you do have to do this.
Yes.
Do you have permission from the tenancy to allow that to happen?
Well, we'd have to do that.
No, I think that's not the question. Let's just pretend that I'm the tenant, I'm Sanducci's. Can you find out whether or not you have the right to touch his equipment? Yes. And reroute?
Okay, go ahead, sir. Anything else?
Yeah, real quick. I didn't hear anything about fire escapes in a residential environment. I'm assuming that there would be some fire escapes from that
We have-
second and third floor.
We have stairways out, we meet the code for required use.
So there would be no requirement to put external fire escapes on the
No,
building?
sir.
Um, Can I flip through your chart real quick? I just want to show you one of the documents you mentioned. So I just want to get clarification that this area you drew an X on here. This does not exist today, but it is part of the proposed?
No, it's not. It was a grafting error.
Okay.
Absolutely grafting error.
Okay. All right. You mentioned the impact of the view.
Yes.
And you kind of pointed to, I don't know if it was on this page or another one, but you kind of pointed to this area down here.
Yeah.
In the back of the parking lot. Have you assessed the impact to the lower street?
You wouldn't see it. And the further away you get, and it also drops down there, the less view you have of that front.
I would disagree.
Okay?
Because I live right down the road from here,
Yeah.
and I see this building perfect.
I didn't say you don't see the building.
Okay.
I said that if you move.
Can you just flip to the other side so the board can see what you're talking about?
Yes, okay.
No,
Yeah, you want
you
to-
personally, there you go.
I'm going to extend this a little bit. So this property drops off, correct?
Yes, sir.
How far?
How far back?
How far down?
What's the measurement? I don't know.
Oh, off the top of your head. A story?
From the back of the parking lot?
Yeah.
Down to Center Ave.
Yeah,
I would say,
I would say good with you.
yeah, 15.
Thank you.
No, I take that back. Oh, yeah, 1520.
So 15 is going to be somewhere down here. If I move that here, right, and I take a sight line from here, you're not going to see the back of the building. You're not going to see way up there. You can't. No,
Yeah.
no, it's a sight line issue. Here you are, you're trying to see, but down here. you
Just
can't-
wait,
You can't see above.
he's showing him something else, so just wait until he finishes so he can see what you're doing.
You see what I'm.
I see what
Yes,
you're doing,
we
but I'd like him to
understand.
see what you're doing.
You don't give me a draw the line like that.
Yeah, yeah, but it's, that's on this view. This, you're not getting profile. This is not really vertical height. This,
No, I understand.
this is what you're gonna get. You're somewhere down here. Even if I raise it up, I'll give you this. I'm gonna raise it up, so maybe you're 8 feet, all right? but your sight line can never be above this point.
I'm gonna say one much further than that, because your property alone is a 6-foot hill.
And the further down you go,
Okay.
the worse the view. It's like,
So where's the view of this front end piece
Yeah.
you're talking about? I understand what you're saying. Okay.
I'm not saying you can't see the building.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm saying you'll never see that added level because the block line building.
I understand that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Is that it, sir?
Yes, sir, I think that's all the questions I have, man.
Very good. Motion to close the public? Oh, anybody else?
No, I'm just on the corner, and I just have comments, not.
Okay.
Yeah. Motion to close to the public?
Motion to close the
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, any abstained? Okay. Now, let me just go, before you go to your next witness, I know that we have some carryover to do. Do you want to bring in your next witness and then go to the carryover? Or do you want to just continue on to the carryover? And then when you get all these answers that where the questions have come up, particularly with the height and the parking, it can be properly addressed as opposed to having to bring everybody back in again. I'll leave it up to you.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate what you're saying, and as a person involved in board work for the boards, I think it's better that the board gets an overall feeling of all the information properly submitted at one time. Do I think the application is complete to go before the board? Absolutely. Are there good questions that the board has raised in terms of issues that are presented that need further review upon the questions? I think so.
Okay.
So
I just want to remind you too, we have a 10 o'clock curfew, so I would give you about 40 minutes for your next witness.
I understand. If I could have just 2 minutes with my client to make sure he agrees with my position on carrying it, because we could do more testimony, there'll be more questions, and they might not be probative in terms of what is going to be followed up on.
We'll give you 2 minutes. Okay. Motion to adjourn for well, I guess whatever you want to call it. Recess is over. It is 9:25, and please
Mr.
proceed.
Chair, there's a few material issues that we would like to respond back to the board with, so we'd like to break at this point. When is the next?
The next meeting would be the fourth Thursday in August.
Is that the 24th?
I believe it is.
And is the meeting after that?
It would be the 24th, and then the meeting after that would be the 28th of September. We're trying to break up the 2 meetings a month, having the simple applications and the quick applications on the second Thursday, and then the more extensive applications coming back on the 4th. So we can dedicate that time just to you.
Okay, let me just ask my client. Thank you.
Yeah, you can move back on. What did you want? I'm sorry. What did you want, Carol? Oh.
I'd like to carry it to August 24th with no further notice required and no prejudice to the board.
Yeah, they don't need to, the announcement here to the public would be that the application's being carried to the
August 24th.
August 24, right here in these chambers. No further notice is necessary to the public. And I just want to make sure, Mr. Martin, you're waiving any time restrictions under the statute.
Absolutely.
By carrying the matter. Thank you.
So you will get notice again, you just have to come to the 24th.
And just real quick, I want to go back to our professional. Rob, you had mentioned something, or was it Tom, about having about a traffic study, or?
I don't think,
Go ahead.
I think what you need is, basically, it's a shared parking analysis. Because you have different uses, people at different times during the day. Obviously, a variance has been granted for what's there today. You're gonna add these 3 things, you wanna know if this is the happy, on the short, that brings the camel's back. And that's, you need a person to get in, see how many parking spaces are available, what time of day, and that's it. The issue is, you're in August. What's that gonna tell you? Probably not the real results, because a lot of people are away, so you're probably not gonna. Also, 3 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, we're gonna pay Kings Back Road, so unless you have wings and feathers, you're not gonna get to, this gentleman's building.
Well, Mr. Chair, in that light, you could always come back and request the board at that point, carry it further, but to keep it locked in, is that a fair?
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Anything else to add before we adjourn?
I think we just need the height calculations, the parking analysis are key right now, and decide what you're gonna do with the building. And go from there.
One other note, there's the parking calculations that were in the engineering study versus what you presented. There's a difference in between 90 and 78. Part of it was based on Napa, and whether it's a distributorship or it's retail. I think there was also a question of the pizza kitchen. There was nothing provided there. So I think as part of that, if you could also give some presentation that would support that this is not a retail operation. I know I walk in there to buy stuff, like my wife does. But I know I'm not representative of the business that we have. But if there's any right, if there's any sort of documentation that would show that is in fact a distributorship rather than a retail operation, that would be good. And then some explanation of why the pizza kitchen doesn't have any parking spots associated with it.
Okay. Brian, you're going to, Brian, Steve, I'm sorry. I called you everything but. You'll have Brian notify, send a letter to both the fire chief and the police chief inviting them to attend the meeting if they wish, so we can address that. There should be, because I'm going to request it myself, some sort of answer as to sprinkling the building and what the plans are for a sprinkler system within the upstairs, particularly above where the commercial kitchens are.
Understood.
Anybody else?
Can we just request comments from the police and fire so they don't have to come to the meeting?
Brian will take care of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a
Will you
letter,
do, Brian?
fine, if they want to testify.
Steve.
Yes, excuse me.
It's all right.
When you when you notice the fire and police, can you make sure they got a copy of the drawings or refer to the drawings or whatever? Of course. So that they can look at it before they get here. Of course.
Perfect.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming tonight. I have nothing else. Does anybody else have anything to talk about before we adjourn?
Will we have new sets of drawings?
They're probably downstairs, but I will get on the secretary to make sure they get out. I would like to entertain, Karen, a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstained? Done. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. No, this stays.